Good morning, everybody. This is Aksa Fatima, Assistant Professor in Triple Department and ISL Engineering College. Today we are here to discuss our first unit, that is fuel cells. It's like a revision class for you so that you recall what we have already studied in our classes. So moving on towards what are fuel cells, we have already seen what are fuel cells, but to have an introductory of how the fuel cells are working and what are the different kinds of fuel cells, let's see. Okay, so here we will see the introduction of fuel cells, design and principle of operation of fuel cells, different types of fuel cells, what are the conversion efficiency of the fuel cells and applications. So moving on towards the introduction, so fuel cells is nothing but it is the chemical process. It is an electrochemical conversion, that is it converts one form of energy to other form of energy, that is the chemical form of energy into the electricity. So the chemical form of energy is converted into the electrical form of energy, and this process takes place in the presence of some catalyst. So it is much likely that battery can be recharged with while you are drawing power from it. It provides a DC voltage that can be used to power motors, lights and any number of electrical appliances. So fuel cells differ from conventional cells as in respect that there is one active material, that is fuel and oxygen, and it is contained within the cell but are supplied from outside, are not contained within the cell and are supplied from outside. Okay, so this conversion of efficiency, that is your conversion of energy taking place, is pure and it takes place in the presence of some catalyst. Okay, so now here you will use, if you consider an example of hydrogen oxygen cell, you will have hydrogen which is coming from the environment, that is pure hydrogen which is you are extracting from the environment. Your oxygen will be present within the fuel cell, and your fuel will be present within the fuel cell, and your oxygen and hydrogen will react and will form energy, electricity. Okay, moving on towards next slide. So the invention of fuel cells was done by Sir William Grove and was first invented in 1839. So Grove had an idea that the water could be split in hydrogen and oxygen by sending an electric current through it, and this process was known as electrolysis, and it is presently also known as electrolysis. So he hypothesized that reversing the procedure, see what he was telling, that by sending oxygen through something, you can split the water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen. How about using it vice versa, by reversing the process? So he created a primitive fuel cell, called it as gas voltaic battery. After experimenting it later, he proved that his hypothesis was true, and it was then again after 50 years two scientists, that is Ludwig Mann and Charles Langer, called it as fuel cell, and again has done it in the same model. So what is a fuel cell? Already said, what? Electrochemical conversion of energy, that is your chemical energy is being converted to electrical energy. A fuel cell converts chemicals hydrogen and oxygen into water, and in the process it produces electricity. So a fuel cell is a device that generates electricity by a chemical reaction. Every fuel cell has two electrodes, one is positive electrode and negative electrode, and is called as cathode and anode respectively. The reaction that produces electricity takes place at the electrodes. Now see, whenever you are inventing something, whenever you are using something, you must know the need of it. We were also discussing why do we need conventional energy, why do we need our renewable energy technology. So here similarly we are also discussing why do we need our fuel cells. You also have the conventional cells what you are using. The energy will be stored within it. You can use it. Then once it is discharged, you can discard it. So now the need for fuel cells is that the energy crisis are all over the world. So due to the issue of global warming and unavailability of renewable energy sources at every place, so what you can do, you don't have renewable energy sources present all over the places because of its geographical conditions. So you can use fuel cell in place of that. Fuel cells provide alternate, efficient, non-polluting power. So they are also providing a power which is non-polluting, and there is no noise and no moving parts. So the wear and tear is also less, and also the noise pollution is less. And see what it is telling that 2050 the global energy demand is going to rise by 2 to 3 times of present global demand of the energy. So fuel cells, the development of fuel cells may help in meeting that demand. So this is the reason why we need optimization of generation of energy through the well-known sources and without exploiting the fossil fuels or the energy available in the environment. Now classification of fuel cells. So the fuel cells are classified mainly of 3 types. So based on temperature range it is being classified. According to the type of electrolyte what we are using, it is being classified, and according to the physical state of the fuel it is being classified. Okay, now what is it? Now based on temperature, it is classified as low temperature, medium temperature and high temperature. That is, low temperature is ranging from 25 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius. Medium temperature is ranging from 100 degrees Celsius to 500 degrees Celsius, and high temperature is ranging from 500 degrees Celsius to 1000 degrees Celsius, and very high temperature would be above 1000 degrees Celsius. So the cells operating within a temperature range of 25 degrees Celsius to 100 degrees Celsius are low temperature fuel cells. The cells operating in a temperature range of 100 to 500 degrees Celsius are known as medium temperature. From 500 to 1000, those are known as high temperature, and above 1000 degrees Celsius are known as very high temperature. Okay, now type of electrolyte use. So the electrolyte what you are using is the what type we will see. So whether it is an aqueous solution what you are using as an electrolyte, whether it is non-aqueous solution or a molten solution or a solid solution. Aqueous and non-aqueous solution. Aqueous solution is what you are using as a water. You are using water wherein they are being used as the electrolytes. Non-aqueous solutions, molten solutions, molten carbonate fuel cell, you are using a molten carbonate for as an electrolyte, and solid fuel cell also we are using, electrolyte we are also using. Okay, now the physical state of the fuel is also important. So physical state of the fuel is what type of fuel cell you are using. So based on the electrolyte type, based on the state of the fuel cell, it can be gaseous, liquid. Gaseous can be hydrogen, lower hydrocarbons, and liquids can be alcohols, hydrogen, and higher hydrocarbons. Okay, now the primary fuel cells, they are being classified as primary fuel cells and secondary fuel cells. Primary fuel cells are the ones the reactants are passed through the cell only once and the product of the reaction is being discarded. That is, they are not being utilized again. Whereas the secondary fuel cells are the reactants are passed through the cells many times and regenerated by different forms. That is, nitric oxide and chlorine fuel cell. hydrogen oxygen fuel cell is the example for primary fuel cell, and secondary fuel cell, nitrogen oxygen fuel cell is the example for secondary fuel cell. Now the types of fuel cells. Fuel cells are being classified as hydrogen fuel cell or hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, fossil fuel cell, hydrocarbon fuel cells, alcohol. So based on the fuels what we are using, okay, hydrogen is one of the type of fuel, fossil fuel, hydrocarbon fuel, alcohol fuel, and hydrogen fuel. So design and principle of operation of fuel cell. So the chemistry of fuel cells, what is happening here is, first we are using hydrogen oxygen fuel cells where H plus ion is your electrodes. These are your electrodes, and this is your inlet for hydrogen, and this is for inlet for oxygen from the air. Okay, now what is happening is the reaction is taking place here inside the electrolyte. So the hydrogen oxygen are become molecules are becoming H plus ions, and oxygen are becoming oxygen and hydrogen, H plus ion and O2. They both are reacting. So at anode what is happening? So this is anode, this is cathode. So what is happening at anode? The hydrogen is becoming 4 hydrogen, 4 H plus ions plus electrons. Okay. Here if you see the reaction, for 2 hydrogen ions are becoming, 2 hydrogen molecules are becoming 4 H plus ions and 4 electrons. And at cathode oxygen, what is happening now? The this is reacting with this. These H plus ions are reacting with the oxygen near the cathode. So oxygen plus 4 H plus ions plus 4 electrons is giving rise to the to H2O, that is water. So at cathode, water is being produced, and your energy is being forwarded to your load, that is your load could be anything, your bulb or some storage point. So these fuel cells are actually continuous fuel cells. You can't store this energy. So you are using directly you are using this directly to the load from the electrons being produced. Okay. See what it is saying. So 40% of KOH is the that is potassium hydroxide is the electrolyte, and the membrane what you are using is not permeable membrane to reactant of the gases and hydrogen and oxygen, which thus prevents them from coming into the contact. So the current carriers is in the electrolyte. So the hydrogen ions are the current carriers here. Now properties of ion exchange membrane. So that was for the first one what we have seen was for hydrogen oxygen fuel cell. Now we are talking about ion exchange membrane fuel cell. In ion exchange fuel cell membrane, what are the properties we are seeing? So for any ideal ion exchange membrane fuel cell, you need high ionic conductivity, zero electronic conductivity, low permeability of fuel cell and oxidants, low degree of electroosmosis, high resistance to dehydration, high resistance to oxidation or hydrolysis, and we should have high mechanical stability. So high conductivity, high ionic conductivity. See, what does an properties of electrolyte is that it must have high ionic conductivity. That means the ion passage or the conduction of ion should be high. Electronic conductivity should be low, so that there will be no electricity being dissipated in that. Low permeability of fuel and oxygen. Now oxidant, that means there must be no mixing of fuel and oxidants. Low degree of electroosmosis. Electroosmosis is how is your fuel cell how is your electrolyte stable. Okay, high resistance to dehydration. So it shouldn't allow the water to evaporate from it, and high resistant to the oxidation or hydrolysis. In oxidation or hydrolysis may cause your electrolyte to quality to spoil, so it must be highly resistant to the oxidation and hydrolysis. Okay, mechanical stability, and it must have good mechanical stability. Now if you see here, what is considerable amount of research has been carried on ideal membranes. Okay, so it should be interpolymers or polyfluorocarbons or polystyrene and sulfonic acids have been found to be quite satisfactory. So those must be interpolymers, polyfluorons, polystyrenes, sulfonic acid, and they can be used quite satisfactorily. In order that electrolyte resistance to be low, a thin sheet of material that is of 0.076 is to be used, and this cells may operate at a temperature of 40 degrees to 60 degrees, and they are thermodynamically reversible. Okay, so the potential for the reaction is 1.23 at 25 degrees Celsius. Now, so this is the common fuel cell processor, where you have fuel cell, your hydrogen power section where you have fuel cells, then inverter or DC to AC inverter which converts your DC voltage to the AC voltage here if you see. Okay, then in power section the steam is again sent to the fuel processor. So this is the most interesting fuel cells and modified hydrogen oxygen fuel cells. Okay, now yes, it is talking about again hydrogen oxygen fuel cells, which we have already seen here. Okay, this fuel cell, what is happening? The hydrogen ions are being changing to H plus, hydrogen is changing to H plus ions, and it is reacting with oxygen to form water and electrons. That is the energy. The fuel processor which converts the fuel cell into hydrogen rich gas. Then in power section it is consisting of actual fuel or the combination of cells or combination of fuels, and the inverter is changing the direct current generated into the indirect current, alternating current, which is used for which can be used further. So now it is telling what type of cells are using which type of electrolyte solution. In phosphoric cell, it uses concentrated aqueous solution of phosphoric acid as an electrolyte. The primary fuel is the light hydrocarbon such as natural gas or naphtha, and the operating temperature is 150 to 200 degrees Celsius, and the discharge voltage is 0.7 to 0.8 volts. Okay, each cell unit is only few millimeter thick, so the large number of so here the operating temperature is 150 degrees to 200 degrees Celsius, and the discharge voltage is 0.7 to 0.8 volts. The next is your molten carbonate cells. Molten carbonate cells are named as molded carbonate cells because the electrolyte used here or the fuel used here is the carbonate, is the molten carbonate. These are high temperature fuel cells, offers the prospect of use with a variety of fossil fuels including coal. So the special features of this cell is during operation it oxidizes carbon monoxide to carbon dioxide as well as hydrogen to water. Here in this cell, if you see the operation, the hydrogen and calcium carbon monoxide is entering from the inlet, and the hydrogen is reacting with carbon monoxide to form water and carbon dioxide. And near the electrode, that is our anode, the H plus ions are releasing electrons, which is reacting with the catalyst to form carbon monoxide. And at the cathode side, this carbon dioxide, oxygen from air is reacting with carbon monoxide at the electrolyte terminal, and forming the and releasing the electrons, which is used for generating electricity. Here, the gaseous mixture of H2 and CO2, which is relatively inexpensive to manufacture, can be used in cell in the presence of carbon dioxide, which would have a minor effect. The electrolyte is at high temperature fuel is a mixture of alkali metals, that is lithium, sodium and potassium, and carbonates at a temperature of 600 to 700 degrees Celsius. And the inert porous membranes are the electrodes, which are porous nickel electrodes. So the mixture of carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide and hydrogen, which is supplied at the negative electrodes, and oxygen at the positive electrodes. And the EMF which is being produced at the load is near the load, the EMF which is being produced is here 0.8 volts. The important aspect of carbon monoxide cell is that the discharged gases consist of steam, carbon dioxide are the products and the products of nitrogen from the air at a temperature of 540 degrees Celsius, and the hot gases could be used for industrial process heat, and it can also be used in gas turbines to produce steam in waste heat boilers to drive steam turbines. So these are the reactions taking place at fuel electrode, that is at anode. Hydrogen plus carbon monoxide is reacting and forming water and carbon dioxide plus 2 electrodes, and carbon monoxide is reacting with carbonate and is forming 2 carbon dioxide and 2 electrons. Similarly, at cathode, oxygen is reacting with carbon dioxide and and 2 electrons are reacting and forming 2 carbon monoxide. And the overall reaction is that hydrogen ion plus carbon dioxide plus oxygen is forming water and carbon dioxide at the output side. This is for molten carbonate. The next what we have is our solid oxide electrolyte cell. Solid oxide electrolyte cells are the solid ceramic oxide cells which are which connect and form produce electricity at high temperatures and can serve as electrolytes for fuel cells. In solid oxide electrolyte, the electrolyte what we are using is zirconium dioxide, and also contain a small amount of another oxide and stabilizes the crystal structure, and the material is able to conduct the oxygen ions at high temperatures. These electrode materials are porous nickel materials which are operating at a temperature range of 600 degrees Celsius to 1000 degrees Celsius, and the electrochemical catalyst would not be required here. So the other sources of energy which are being used here are conveniently stored and transported in the form of liquid such as methanol, ammonia and hydrogen. Here in this cell what is happening is solid oxide cell is also similar in construction like metal oxide cell, but in place of our electrolyte, a solid oxide membrane is present. The next is regenerative system. First, let us understand what is a regenerative system. Regenerative system or regenerative fuel cell is the one in which the fuel cell product is water is recovered from hydrogen and oxygen by several possible methods, that is thermal, chemical, photochemical, electrical and radiochemical. So there are 2 stages of regenerative fuel cells. First is conversion of fuel cell reactants into products while producing electrical energy, and the second is reconversion of fuel cell products into reactants. So if you see from this diagram, so here we are using solar regenerator fuel cell. This example is for nitric oxide and chlorine fuel cell where the electrolyte is being used. So once the electrolyte is utilizing this chlorine and nitric oxide, the chlorine evaporator, this electrolyte is going to the NaCl evaporator, where the NaCl is being again reconverted. See, this chlorine and chloride is reacting and forming the electrical energy. See, and this electrolyte is going back to the evaporator and regenerator, and it is from here it is going to the solar regenerator, where the solar regenerator is going to the stripper and nitrogen oxide separator. Nitrogen oxide separator, the nitrogen oxide and chloride is separated, and nitrogen oxide goes to the nitrogen oxide separator storage, and chloride will go to the chlorine will go to the chlorine storage, and again it will be utilized in the fuel cell. The conversion efficiency of the fuel cell. The conversion efficiency of the fuel cell is nothing but how much energy is being utilized in the overall reaction, or the free energy which is being produced. So it depends on what is called the free energy, which is the heat energy produced by the overall cell reaction. The free energy of the formation of 1 mole, that is 18 grams of liquid water from hydrogen and oxygen gas at atmospheric pressure of 56.67 kilocalories or 237 kilojoules at 25 degrees Celsius is the condition where 68.26 kilocalories or 286 kilojoules of energy is being produced. So the theoretical efficiency of the conversion of heat energy into the mechanical energy is hydrogen oxygen, and then hydrogen oxygen fuel cell is your atmospheric pressure by your energy produced during the reaction into 100. So in a typical hydrogen oxygen fuel cell, 83% of the efficiency is being obtained. Similarly, efficiencies as high as 70% have been observed during the practical fuel cells, and also the conversion efficiencies between the when using a pure fuel cell, a conversion efficiency of 50 to 60% is being obtained. The efficiency is as lower when you use air as a source of oxygen and hydrogen is derived from hydrocarbons, whereas higher efficiency is obtained when using these sources in conventional plants. Okay, a low resistance, that is high conductivity electrolyte, is therefore desirable, and ideal hydrogen oxygen cell is 17% of the chemical energy being utilized. Now moving on towards polarization. So what is polarization? So a theoretical voltage what is being obtained and the actual voltage, the difference between those two voltages is called polarization, and this is also called as overvoltage. That is, if you are calculating a voltage of some value and you are getting some actual value, the difference between that actual value and the obtained value is nothing but your polarization. So the effect of polarization is reduced by the efficiency of the cell from the theoretical maximum. So if the effect of polarization can be reduced by considering the maximum theoretical efficiency and significant drop in the voltage. So the energy loss takes place and the current density is increased. See, if you see here, there are three types of polarization, that is activation polarization, resistance polarization and concentration polarization. Activation polarization is depending upon the activation of the energy barrier and the transfer of electron process. In this activation polarization, the fuel cell's electrodes are liberated and reaction is chemisorption reaction. At low current density, significant number of electrons are not emitted, which result in less potential. So this process requires minimum activation energy supplied so that the sufficient number of electrons are emitted and this energy is supplied to the output of the cell. So the electrons being emitted and the polarization taking place during this process is known as activation polarization or chemical polarization, and this polarization may be reduced by using electrode catalyst, increasing surface area by rising the operating temperature. Similarly, resistant polarization. So the resistant polarization is linearly related to the current flow according to the Ohm's law. So the internal resistance is composed of electrode resistance, the bulk electrolyte resistance, and the interface contact resistance between the electrode and the electrolyte. The loss due to the resistant polarization is significant when current density is quite large. So when the current density is large, the losses due to the resistant polarizations increases, and this reduction in the internal resistance may result in low resistant polarization. So the electrolyte resistance, to reduce resistance polarization in a fuel cell, you need to decrease the electrolyte resistance and use the concentrated electrolyte by closer spacing of the electrode and by increasing the temperature. So hence the resistant polarization is reduced by how? By reducing the resistance and reducing the distance between the electrodes and increasing the temperature. And the losses due to the resistant polarization can be reduced by selecting a proper shape of electrode and minimum contact between the electrode and electrolyte, and reducing the gap between the electrodes. Now the third one is your concentrated polarization. Concentrated polarization is divided into two: electrolyte side polarization and gas side polarization. Electrolyte side polarization, this is due to the slow diffusion of electrolytes causing change in the concentration at electrodes, and the effect can be minimized by increasing the electrolyte concentration and by steering or circulating the electrolyte. Now the next one is gas side polarization. This is caused by slow diffusion of reactants. There in the electrolyte side, the slow diffusion of electrolyte was causing the polarization. Here in gas side polarization, it is caused by reactants, and through the porous electrode, the gas may pass. So this reactant may diffuse slowly, and the rate at which it is diffusing is less. So the electrodes at the reaction site, or the slow diffusion of the products at the reaction site, causes the gas side polarization. The loss in the voltage due to the gas side polarization can be reduced by using electrodes of small force and by increasing the temperature. We have observed that all the three losses in the fuel cells are decreased by increasing the temperature, and due to the given cell is usually operated at higher temperature ranges. Here the requirements of a typical fuel cells are hydrocarbons, oxygen, water, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and harbor elements in fuel processor or reformer and fuel cell converter. So these are the typical requirement of a fuel. Now moving on further, advantages and disadvantages of fuel cells. We'll see. Fuel cell systems are environmentally preferable, and they will have high conversion efficiency and low emission in the environment. Noises are less, operations are readily accepted in the residential areas, and has no moving parts, and they are available to use at any location, and less transmission and distribution of losses. No requirement of cooling towers in conventional plants, and less space is required as compared to conventional plants. So these are the advantages of our fuel cells. And the main disadvantage of fuel cell is that their initial cost is high and the service life is low. So the initial cost for the installation of fuel cell is high. Let's see the applications of the fuel cells. Fuel cells are being used in domestic power applications, central power stations, automotive vehicles, and special applications. They are also being used. So some of the useful points regarding applications is that the EMF voltage of the fuel cells depends on some exchange of discharge current strength, and the average voltage per cell is 0.75 volts. And when you join number of fuel cells in series or parallel, any reasonable amount of voltage can be generated, and the types of currents that are generated by the fuel cells, they are different types of current being generated. And if the fuel cells of reasonably low cost and long life can be produced, a major use might be by electrical utilities for load leveling, and installation is expected to have higher efficiency fuel cell utilization than conventional steam electric plants. Then they are used in it's being used in a car engine. A fuel cell is being used in a car engine, and this is a promising application. One day even it can power our houses. This is a fuel cell also used for portable power like laptops, computer and cellular phones, and it can be used in telecommunication where the network is increasing steadily. And this is a Nokia mobile with fuel cell battery. It's a wheelchair which is being powered by fuel cell. Toshiba MP3 player with a fuel cell. So the major organizations which are utilizing fuel cells are these: Ministry of NCES, IITs, CSIR Labs, PHEL, BARC, MET. Now the disadvantages are that the initial cost is higher for installation, and cost for the storage of the fuel cell is twice than that of the conventional sources of energy, and energy produced by one fuel cell is around 7.7 volts. So this is for your fuel cells. Let's see the question being asked regarding the fuel cells here. If you see here, it has asked you the advantages of fuel cells and molten carbonate fuel cell. So we have seen that it is being asked that molten carbonate fuel cells and what are the details of polarization. Since we have seen in this, advantages of fuel cells are what we have just now discussed, that they are environmentally friendly, these are the application. Conversion efficiency is high, low emission cost, availability of the location is good, so there need not be any availability of location. So the transmission and distribution, you can install a plant wherever you need it to be present. And similarly you have metal molten carbonate fuel cell. Here we have discussed molten carbonate fuel cell as well. The molten carbonate fuel cells uses carbonate as an electrolyte, which is in a molten form, and these are the chemical reactions. So it is enough for you to draw this diagram. For 5 marks it is asking, write the chemical reactions, draw the diagram, explain it, whatever is taking place. And it is operating at a high temperature of 600 to 700 degrees Celsius. That's the reason it is in the form of molten. The next one is discuss the details about polarization in fuel cell for another 5 marks. So you have to mention what are the fuel cells being utilized and what are the different kind of. Now in polarization, you have to mention what is polarization. It's the difference between the theoretical value of the voltage and actual value of the voltage, and this is also called as the over voltage. And what are the different kind of polarization: active polarization, resistance polarization, and concentrating polarization. Again, concentration polarization is divided into two, that is electrolyte side polarization and gas side polarization. That's it, enough for 5 marks. You have to draw the diagram. That's it. It has asked for in this is a paper which is your supply paper, May-June 2009. No, not May-June, December 2019 paper. You will see here. It is December 2019 supply paper for CBCS. That's it. Those are the questions being asked from your first unit.